let's talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This is directed by Ryan Coogler, who did the first Black Panther. He also directed Creed and Fruitvale Station. Kind of an understatement to say that he loves himself some Michael B. Jordan. I love myself some Michael B. Jordan. And it was also Ryan Coogler had a hand in writing the script. He co-wrote it with Joe Robert Cole, who has been nominated for an Emmy for American Crime Story. The cast includes Letitia Wright as Shuri, who assumes the mantle of Black Panther after the passing of King T'Challa, played by Chadwick Boseman, who passed in real life at the age of 42, which I'm 42, and Elvis passed at 42. I'm hoping those aren't omens, to be honest. Shuri is a princess of Wakanda who designs new technology for the nation. She often buries herself in her work because she wasn't able to save her brother. Yeah, pretty unfortunate. I was not a fan of Shuri in the first Black Panther. I was like, feels annoying. Like it wasn't clicking for me, but she matured a lot throughout the process of this story in the sequel. And I newfound appreciation for that character, Shuri. I mean, I've liked Letitia Wright and what she's done, but the first one was just like, this is, But this one, I think it was, experiencing that loss and that grief and wrestling with that, but also wrestling with not buying into this ancestral plane malarkey in her view, where it's like, that's when we die, we die. She has a very scientific approach to everything, where it's like, I'm not buying in all the spiritual bullshit that y'all believe. Like I believe in science. That's my love, and that's my life. So like all this other stuff you're talking about, like, nope, I don't think that, I don't feel like that. And then her kind of, I really liked how that battle that she has between taking up the mantle of Black Panther, pursuing her scientific exploits, and like following in her brother's footsteps, but also like wanting to see the world burn. Like that scene with her and the Queen, Ramonda, played by Angela Bassett, elegant as always. That was key for me to like maintain my interest in the movie, because they were playing around with the idea of like, is she going to be more like her brother? No, doesn't seem like that. Or is she going to follow in the footsteps of Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan? So that was an interesting dynamic. Lupita Nyong'o as Nakia, a former war dog, undercover spy for Wakanda from the River Tribe. I feel like much better in this movie than the first one. I don't know what I have against the first movie, but I just felt like he had stronger performances in this movie, in the sequel, than he did in the first one. Danai Gurira as Okoye, General of the Dora Milaje, the all-female special forces. She later takes on the mantle of the Midnight Angels. Wakabe, her husband, who is played by Daniel Kaluuya in the first one. Kaluuya did not return to this film because he was, I guess they always use this excuse or reason, but scheduling conflicts. He was filming Nope, which I highly recommend. But so for this story, they said Wakabe was imprisoned after the events of Black Panther, because I think he sided with Killmonger, right? Winston Duke as M'Baku, my favorite character of all in the Black Panther franchise series. Powerful warrior and leader of Wakanda's mountain tribe, the Jabari, which is no longer isolated from the rest of Wakanda. Florence Kasumba is Ayo, second command, who later assumes the role of general when Okoye is stripped of her duties. Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams. So Dominique Thorne in this movie, I feel like about her like I felt about Shuri in the first movie. Just like, I'm just not buying it. but she plays an MIT student and inventor from Chicago, creates a suit of armor that rivals the one built by Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. And even though they don't mention it in the movie, her characters, they end up calling her Iron Heart. I don't think they ever mention it in the movie, but that's the character she is or becomes when she puts on the suit, is Ironheart. Coogler has said that she's like a foil to Shuri, and that there are a lot of similarities between the two because they're connected through their love of science, but then they're also very, very different in their like approaches. Feels like maybe Riri is a bit more adventurous and more of a risk taker, and Shuri is a little more plays it closer to the vest. But that relationship was meant to represent the diversity of the Black experience, as T'Challa and Killmonger exemplified in the first movie. Okay, I guess I could buy that. Not as severe a chasm, but I get it. Michaela Coel as Aneka, Wakandan warrior, member of the Dora Milaje, also becomes one of the Midnight Angels. Mabel Cadena as Namora's cousin, which largely forgettable. Unfortunately, like I don't know that she played that big of a role. I think if you remove her from the movie, nothing changes. So that's kind of maybe she'll play a bigger part down the road. I don't know, but this was like meh. And Namor is played by Tenoch Huerta Mejia, the king of Talocan, an ancient civilization of underwater dwelling people. He's known as the feathered serpent god Kukulkan. So these people, the underwater people, the civilization, they look a lot like the Na'vi from Avatar. Blue skin. So that kind of threw me off. I was like, what is this? So they're like the Na'vi, but they're underwater. And then, but then there's also like they're underwater. So they're kind of like, and they were referencing that it was sort of Atlantis, what they got going on underneath the water, under the sea. And so then that made me think about Aquaman. And I was like, so how does that relate? Like, is this a ripoff of Aquaman? Is Aquaman a ripoff of them? So it definitely was, it threw me off. I was just like, whoa. I mean, the Sonic thing was cool, where they make these sonic disturbances or whatever, where they're able to like basically mesmerize people, hypnotize people to like just do their bidding. And it's like that scene with the boat, when the crew and the scientists played by Lake Bell, they go into the underwater diving or drilling expedition to unearth or dig up vibranium. Where so the Talocan come and they do their sonic thing, and all the crew, everyone just starts walking off the boat, which is eerily similar to. There were just a lot of connections that I was making all at once. It was like, whoa, they're blue. That's like the Na'vi. Whoa, they're underwater. That's like Atlantis and Aquaman. Whoa, they're like, all of a sudden these people are now walking off the ship, just like in the TV show 1899, which was on Netflix and was canceled after season 1. What the fuck? So a lot of things going through my head, like, whoa. Like, is this just, whoa. Trying to wrap my head around all this. My major contention with this movie is they spend it's 2 hours and 41 minutes long. It's the second longest or the longest film in the MCU series, behind I think Avengers Endgame, one of the Infinity Sagas. And so they felt the need to give this Namor plenty of speaking time on screen, airtime, kind of explaining his motivations and getting to know him and humanizing him. That was like a huge aspect of the movie, was they wanted to humanize this guy. They didn't want him to be just the bad guy, just the villain. And they wanted it to make sense for why he's deciding to go after Wakanda. That all being said, I don't buy it. I don't get it. So he's basically pissed that Wakanda, like T'Challa came out and was like, yeah, Wakanda's got this vibranium, but and we want to share it with the world. We want to share our knowledge, our expertise, and our resources with the world to make it a better place. And so this guy is like, oh, fuck that. No, we're like, and you can see what's happening with the US and France at the UN stating their case for like, this is like, you promised you were going to share it. Now you're not going to share it. And so now this Namor guy, the feathered serpent god, he said that, T'Challa had put Talokan in jeopardy and they're going to take action to protect themselves. And so he goes to Ramonda and Shuri. He's able to infiltrate Wakanda, which blows everyone away. Like, whoa, how'd you do that? And then he's like, hey, I'm just giving you the opportunity. Like, you need to come with us and side with us so we can attack the rest of the world. And if you don't, I'm coming for you first. It's like, well, how's that? But I guess that speaks more to Namor as a character. Like his nickname growing up was El Niño Sin Amor, the child without love. And it's because of all the atrocities and travesties that his family suffered over the years. The fact that his people were enslaved, and then his mom, while pregnant with him, they ended up discovering the heart-shaped flower that has the Black Panther powers, I guess. And so the community ingests it. It appears like they die, but then they wake up, they have blue skin, and they can't breathe unless they're in the water. But for this guy, Namor, he's the first, I guess he's the first ever mutant to appear in a live action film in MCU history. Like, we haven't seen any mention of mutants or anything like that. And he's got the pointy ears. He's got the wings coming out of his ankles. He doesn't have to be underwater to breathe, but it does power him to a certain extent. So I think Coogler described him as kind of an asshole, kind of romantic, and just incredibly powerful. The actor does give a solid performance, and I think in a very tough spot, because it's like hard to take a guy who has wings on his ankles seriously. It's like, okay, you're like Mercury, right? Like, is that what? But I also don't think that those little wings could make him that dexterous, that quick and agile. There's just something about like, that guy's got to be like maybe 180 to 200 pounds, and those wings are like able to, he's like, you think about like a hummingbird's wings, like an eagle's wings, like they don't have the body of a blue whale. Okay. So that was a little hard to get over that hump mentally. And I'm not a huge comic book reader. So for me, it's like, I don't know jack squat about a lot of this stuff. But in reading a lot of the trivia and the backstory about it, it's like very cool angle and premise that they took. But it is kind of crazy that there still seems to be this level of infighting with the Black Panther movies. Like with the first movie, it felt like it was a lot of like intra community. If you're thinking about like spring training, intra squad games, like intra squad conflict, where it's like, it's not this, like, there are a lot of and I guess this is what Coogler was going for, is there's a lot of similarities to Wakanda and Talokan. They both have vibranium. They both have thriving communities. They both have been oppressed. I don't know that Wakanda's been oppressed, unless I'm missing something from the first movie. Probably am. But, and the idea of Shuri being wined and dined essentially by Namor was interesting. But it was a lot of setup for the payoff of like, well, we still got to take this guy down. I don't know. I'm all for I'm all for giving more depth and layers to villains, because there's been too many superhero movies where it's like, all right, this is a bad guy and he's going to act bad and like blah, blah, blah. And his motivations aren't exactly like that charismatic. Whereas this one, it felt like more substantial, but it also felt like, I mean, this guy's like essentially immortal. So he's, I want to say hundreds of years old. And maybe that goes hand in hand with his decision making. Like a 4-year-old's just over it. And it's just like, listen, you're either with me or against me. And, it's not, he doesn't have that fire anymore, but he is like, enough of this enough of this crap. I'm sick of it. Like, and I'm done hiding, I guess. But, he brings up a good point that it's brought up in just about any movie you see with an immortal person. Like I've seen so many of my friends and family die over the years. And but then does that turn you into a raging psychopath where you just want to see the world burn? Maybe. It's like death doesn't mean anything to you. You're desensitized by it. So you're just like, you're going to take out anyone or everyone who threatens that. But it's like at the same time, I don't know. He wants to protect his people, obviously, but why would he care about his people anymore if he's been through all this crap and it's not changing any? I don't know. Oof. But I mean, hell, if I've spent this long talking about just that one character, it's like they must have done a pretty decent job. But I just, Martin Freeman as Everett K. Ross, a CIA agent who helped out in the first movie. He's helping out in this movie. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, the new director of the CIA and ex-wife of Ross, which kind of came out of nowhere. I remember, I believe she made her debut in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's when we first saw her, because she takes, what's his name? Kurt Russell's kid, Wyatt Russell, who's supposed to be the new Captain America, who then adopted this alter Captain America identity. She takes him under her wing, and somehow she's now director of the CIA, and apparently she was married to Ross. She was cool. I mean, she didn't have a lot of screen time, but I thought she was cool. Angela Bassett as Queen Ramonda, the Sovereign Queen Mother. Bassett explained that Ramonda would be trying to balance leading her people, being a mother to Shuri, and keeping threats to Wakanda at bay, all while grieving the death of her boy. It's a lot to handle. Okay, sure. But yeah, I'm a fan. Angela Bassett as Ramonda. We'll see if she isn't in any future projects, though. Put that out there. That opening scene, dude. That opening sequence where it's like we dive right into it. First, we get the graphic intro that Marvel has done with every Marvel movie, but it's just Chadwick Boseman and there's no music. So it's like that kind of sets the tone. And then you have this, Shuri trying to save her brother and not being able to. And then going into that funeral procession. It just knowing the real life connections and everything and all that, it was just like, really hits ya. Really does hit you. So I thought the scene where they recruit Riri Williams it felt like, I don't know why, it felt like it was ripped out of an 80s movie. It just had that feeling of like, I can't tell you which 80s movie, but it just felt like a little too silly for the movie. Most of the movie is pretty serious and weighty, and that was just like, all right, there's just like this kid, and I don't know. That was like borderline tipping over to the point of like, all right, is this really, do we need all this? Yeah, spoilers ahead. I guess we talk spoilers now, right? Queen Ramonda dies. She drowns when, and Namor kept his promise. He said, if you don't side with us and team up with us, like I'm coming back here, and it's not going to be as pleasant, and I'm taking you out. And he points at Ramonda. He's like, I'm gonna come for you. I'm gonna kill you. And sure enough, he does. And so that's another gut-wrenching moment for Shuri. Ramonda was saving Riri Williams. She gave her life to save Ironheart. And yeah. So what I was referring to earlier, like so Shuri still hasn't been able to recreate the herbs. So like the herbs were all destroyed by Killmonger in the first movie, right? She's been trying to recreate the herb. In the beginning of the movie, she's trying to recreate the herb so that she can give it to her brother to save his life. Unable to do it. She, with the help of Riri Williams this time, is able to recreate it. And so after her mother's funeral, she ends up taking it and ends up going in the ancestral plane where she meets Killmonger, and Killmonger is like, "That's what I'm talking about, dog. Like, now you can be bad like me." And Shuri's like, "Yeah, I don't know about all that." So, but it is interesting. Like, I guess much like how his father was contained, like in that first movie, he was contained in his apartment in Oakland. Like Killmonger's contained in that one area where the throne is and not allowed to be out and about with the other ancestors, which I thought was interesting. So Killmonger obviously wants revenge, and so Shuri is able to design a new Black Panther suit, which it looks fantastic. Very, very happy about how it looks, and she is accepted as the new Black Panther. Shuri wants to exact vengeance on Namor. M'Baku urges for peace, which is kind of interesting because he's usually not like that. He's like a warlord type character. And then that's when we get to see the Midnight Angel armor go on Okoye, and also that's when Riri unveils the Iron Man-esque exoskeleton and becomes Ironheart, I guess. So there was that big climactic scene, the fight scene. We get to see Namor in action, and it's a group effort for sure. The Wakandans are on the boat. Boat's attacked by the Tenoch, who have to wear these masks. I forgot to mention that. The masks with the water in the mask, which I felt like maybe this was filmed during COVID, and they were like, listen, you guys, we too many people on set. We need you all to wear masks. And it's like, but that's not in the script. And they're like, well, we're just CGI in some water to make it look like you need the water to be. Like a little, I thought of that, like maybe this is just like these people made sense for the movie because we're in COVID times, and so they can all wear them. Like we can reduce the possibility of COVID spreading if we just incorporate that in the storyline. So we'll just have them all wear masks, and then they wear green masks, and then we'll just like green screen in some water to make it look like, oh well, they need the water in order to be above water. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, Shuri had the ability to take out Namor, kill him, and didn't. Held back and was like, we need peace, we need a truce here, bro, what do you say? And he agreed. So good on you for not pulling the trigger and murdering that feathered serpent god. Oh yeah, I guess I forgot about that. So yeah, so Namor has gets his powers from the water. So they decide that they're going to try and dry him out. They're going to lure him away into the ship where they have like a massive heater designed by Riri, and they're going to dry him out. And that's how they're gonna like immobilize him, right? Weaken him, take away his powers. They crash on a beach, they fight, and that's when Shuri convinces Namor to surrender. And Namor's cousin Namora is pissed. But Namor is like, don't worry about it. Like, this new alliance will allow us to conquer the surface world one day. So it's not like he's completely changed his mind. Riri returns to MIT, leaves her suit behind. Okoye rescues Ross from captivity. Shuri plants more herbs. And then Shuri takes off for Haiti to visit Nakia. And M'Baku steps up to challenge for the throne, dude, which that could be interesting. Because I guess the Winston Duke, the actor who plays M'Baku, was initially wanted to be the villain in this film, which I don't know. I mean, he'd be great. He'd be a good villain, but it just feels like let's move beyond that. Him challenging for Black Panther would be pretty sweet. So maybe that is how he does become the villain in the third one, if they do decide to do a third one. But I tell you, that whole movie happens. It's like very powerful opening scene. You obviously the passing of Ramonda was emotional. The most emotional scene to me was the mid-credits scene where Shuri visits Nakia in Haiti, and she finds out that Nakia has a son from T'Challa named Toussaint, who she's been raising in secret, and that she and T'Challa, Nakia and T'Challa agreed that they would keep it a secret because they would reveal it when the time is right. And now now she's revealing because she feels the time is right. The kid's like 6, 7, 8. It could be 10. I don't know. And then Toussaint reveals his Wakanda name is T'Challa. So Black Panther in the making, I guess. There was a lot of underwater filming going on. And you would think, like, with Aquaman not being that, I don't think Aquaman was that big of a success, but I mean, it's just so fucking hard to film anything underwater and to kind of take it seriously. Like, I remember watching Aquaman and being like, there's like a very powerful speech going on and the hair is just kind of flowing everywhere. And you're like, the hair is distracting. So for them to decide to tackle this after seeing what is going on with Aquaman and like trying to understand the logistics of just underwater stuff. Like, when you're talking, when bubbles come out, like, it's just, I think if I'm ever in a position where it's like, hey, do you want to do an underwater movie? I'd be like, you know what? I know there's a whole another world under there, and I'd love to explore it someday, but it's just too hard to film and come across on film. So yeah, that's where I was getting the Aquaman vibes from. It's like there's a lot of underwater scenes where like there's talking, like, but they're underwater, but like I guess maybe they don't breathe oxygen underwater, so that's why there's no bubbles. But how are they moving? Like, it just get in your head. The Killmonger cameo was cool. That was cool. I'm glad that they found a way for Michael B. Jordan to come back for this one. And I remember saying this after the first one. I was like, that cannot be the end of him, because of all the hype that he got leading up to the movie about how he's like the next great villain. MCU needed him because other than Thanos, I guess, they haven't really had a villain that's clicked. And so one of the few characters, like, he can't be dead, right? Like, you can't kill him off, right? It just seems like such a great villain. And so it's good to see him come back in the mix. And I wonder if, with all this talk about like the blip and people coming back to life, like there's now, some thought that his days aren't done in this franchise. But that scene with the kid, the son, T'Challa Jr., ooh, that hit me hard, and you could see it. Like, it was just, it just felt more emotional in general than the first one. And I know the first one is probably going to be more highly regarded for reasons other than the story itself. But Whew. Lots to absorb and digest. Oh. Yeah, the name Toussaint comes from General Toussaint Louverture, who fought the French in the 18th century when there were colonial slaves, the largest slave rebellion since Spartacus 1900 years earlier, to secure the abolition of slavery in an independent nation of Haiti, which they said Haiti. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should start saying that. So the actor who plays Namor, Tenoch Huerta, didn't know how to swim. Apparently Coogler offered him the role and asked him about his swimming skills. Huerta replied, "I've never drowned before." And he took swimming lessons to prepare for the role. But that's just like, what are the odds, dude? I guess there's a fair amount of people who just don't know how to swim. Namor is, in the comics, he has the title of Marvel's first mutant. So that was interesting. Namor the Submariner was Marvel's very first superhero alongside the Angel and the original Human Torch, which is crazy. It's like, how all my years, 40 plus years on this frickin' earth, and I have not once heard about this Namor the Submariner. Interesting. But apparently, like, a movie with him has been in the works for, they've been trying. I don't know how hard they've been trying, but they've been trying to get him on screen in film for a while now. So, and now that he has made his debut, it's like, wasn't bad. Below Killmonger for sure, below Thanos for sure. But you think about some of the other villains. I mean, Loki's not really a villain, anti-hero, I guess. And they're trying to paint Namor as an anti-hero. So I guess that would be that's really the approach they want to take from now on. Like, a villain that you can side with or at least understand more. And this is the culmination of phase 4. You know, we mentioned in the trending news section of the pod that Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania kicks off phase 5. This is the culmination of phase 4. And a powerful, emotional culmination of phase 4. What will phase 4 be remembered for? I feel like, can we do like a review of MCU phase 4 real quick? Like, let's take a look. Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Oof. I mean, Black Widow, I liked. And we all, that ended up you get to see David Harbour, which I'm a big David Harbour fan. And it gave us Florence Pugh, who is I expect huge monster things from Florence Pugh in the MCU. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was good. Eternals was not great, although they're the fans, the diehards, are saying like people are too harsh on it. I was just like, this is a little above my pay grade. Spider-Man No Way Home, which is the best of the bunch by a huge margin. And if you don't have Spider-Man No Way Home in this series, this phase, it's a rough one. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, again, was not bad, but it wasn't what I was hoping for and expecting. Thor Love and Thunder was a disappointment and a letdown. And I think it so easily probably could not have been that way if you just take out like 2, 3, 4 things. And then Black Panther Wakanda Forever, finishing out that. So that phase 4 spanned, about a year and a half, just about a year and 4 months. Feels like it's more of a bridge. I mean, they're all connected. They're all building to something larger. I get it. But this feels like really kind of like, we just went through phase 3, which was like knocked the wind out of our sails. It was just like a real gut punch, And then, so this is how they're recalibrating, right? It's how everyone's trying to like figure things out after everything comes back to normal, quote unquote. So it's understandable. Phase 5, though. I'm curious about Phase 5 now. Let's look at Phase 5. Oh, yeah. I mean, we also had WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and She-Hulk on the TV side of things in Phase 4. I would say, I think the TV side of things actually outdid the film side. WandaVision was a huge mindfuck. I liked it. Falcon the Winter Soldier, I know a lot of people weren't too thrilled with, but I dug. Loki was awesome. What If was awesome. Hawkeye was great. Moon Knight was good. I didn't see Miss Marvel, and She-Hulk was different. I'll say that. Had some really great great moments, and then some moments you're like, what is the show? Is this just like a giant middle finger to the haters? So I would say the TV side of things really nailed it. What's coming in Phase 5? I gotta look at what's going on in Phase 5 real quick, y'all, for the true fans. All right, for the films, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which we mentioned, which we already said might be a little underwhelming, but at least we got Jonathan Majors, right? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I think that's going to be James Gunn's final swan song in the MCU, right? So he's going to go out with a bang, so that should be legit. The Marvels, which I do not care for, and I'm not sure why. I think there's too many Marvels. It's like Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, but maybe this all ties it together and it'll make it make sense, you know? Captain America New World Order. Interesting. That's 2024. Thunderbolts, July of 24, and then Blade, September of 24. Okay. So Phase 5 also not exactly, on paper, when I'm looking at the schedule, I'm not like, I'm dying to see any of that. Maybe Guardians, because I think that's going to be like, that's the curtain call, right? That should be the culmination of the trilogy. It feels like that's going to be the big tent pole of that series. But who knows? It's possible that Marvel's surprises some people. That comes out in July. I haven't seen anything about it yet. And Thunderbolts feels like a wild card. Captain America New World Order. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier built was trying to build a lot of trust and validity and credibility for how the direction they're taking. I don't know that we'll see. I don't know. But I would say my money's on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 being the real one that's like, oh boy, that's gonna rip your heart out. Curious about Blade. Curious. I'll say that. Thunderbolts, I don't even know what the hell that is. So maybe that is the dark horse of the crew. I feel like Thunderbolts is the dark horse. We kind of know what we're getting with Blade. Kind of know what we're getting with Captain America New World Order. And then the Marvels. I don't know. Cool. All right. So that's MCU Phase 5. What did the critics say about Black Panther Wakanda Forever? I probably should have said that. The critics said a poignant tribute that satisfyingly moves the franchise forward, marks an ambitious and emotionally rewarding triumph. Yeah, I dig it. And audience says it's a solemn goodbye to one of the MCU's most beloved stars without skimping on the action. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't really have had a better send-off. 84% of all critics gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 7.2 out of 10. 94% of the verified audience gave it a 4.7 out of 5 average rating. And then, 94% of verified audience gave it a favorable review with a 4.7 out of 5 rating on average. Top critics, only 74% of top critics gave it a favorable review with a 7 out of 10 average rating. And then 82% of all audience gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 4.2 out of 5. Woof. Yeah, I'm right there with like the critics and top critics. if we're going out of 10, yeah, I'd probably give it a 7. I think I rated it a 7 on IMDb. And then I don't know if I would give it above a 4 out of 5. It's close to a 4, though. Maybe it is a low 4, high 3s out of 5. I'll say that. Yeah, I'm with the all audience. I think it would be like 4.1 out of 5 or 3.9. Right around there. Yeah, so that's Black Panther Wakanda Forever.